Hi guys, it's Robin. Welcome back on day 2 of the Urban Future Conference. Um, we're here on our Good Place bench. It's a proud moment, and because it attracts a lot of interesting people, like yourself,
No pressure.
and yeah, all the way from South Africa, Cape Town. We've been in touch on LinkedIn, and happy you accepted the invitation to come and join us on this Good Place bench. Please introduce yourself, who you are, where you're from, and what brought you to Urban Future.
Great. I'm Rashiq Fataar. I suppose I'm an urbanist. I run a company called Our Future Cities. So we help ambitious, progressive organizations, be it governments or developers or community groups, to find ways to create more innovative, exciting cities that people want to be in and that are nurturing and more inclusive. And that means various projects from public space to policy to just ideas to communication projects. And I've come to Rotterdam to speak at Urban Future. I'm on the board of the Independent School for the City, which is a great postgraduate institution
Here in Rotterdam?
in Rotterdam. And we had our board meeting as well and catching up with friends.
So you've been here numerous times to Rotterdam.
Numerous times over the last 10 years, and the transformation's been, it's visible and it's tangible, yeah.
And did you have a role in it as well?
Not yet. We should probably open the company here in the Netherlands as well and bring a sort of global south perspective, which is actually could be used in some areas we visited that maybe lack a bit of a soul. But hopefully in the future, you never know.
Because your office is located in Cape Town.
Yeah.
What makes Cape Town a good place?
What makes Cape Town a good place is that it could become a great place for everyone living there. I think if you, being such an unequal society, due to our apartheid history and city planning which divided people and oppressed people, it's one of the few cities in the world that I can say, if there's better housing and transport for everyone, it becomes a great city for everyone. So incredible beaches, our city's wrapped in beaches, it's wrapped in national parks. So if people have time through good transport and live in better neighborhoods, most of the city is wrapped in positive public amenities. Yeah. But it's due to circumstances, people, the time that they have, the economic circumstances. Not everyone can access these amenities all the time, or there are barriers to it in their particular neighborhoods. So I think it's one of the few places that really is a good place to live, and as people's lives improve, becomes a great place to live, and not just sort of an average city somewhere in the global north. That's kind of nice and a bit cute and got some old buildings. It's really could be an exceptional place for 4 million people now.
Because within your work, I think that's also your goal, I think, within your work, to create good places. What do you see across your projects? Because I think they're also international projects. What do you see as a common thing that cities need to become good places?
I think it's taking a moment to understand how somebody else lives before you design or plan. And we're not talking about always doing extensive workshopping and co-design. That's really important. We just understand, let's say, a migrant who has moved, even in South Africa, we have people moving from different provinces, from different African countries. Just understand what it took for them to get there and the challenges they currently face. In some neighbors we work in, it's mostly one of our town centers, mostly people from outside of South Africa. So let's say Somali Students Association, what do they need? What's brought them there? Do they feel represented? How do they travel on transport? How is it different to my experience? I think if we just start there and acknowledge that lived experience, I don't think people often want you to make a big fuss about it.
No.
Just want to be heard.
Yeah.
And then to start to make it welcoming. And that could then be lighting, transport, a bench to sit where you don't have to buy a €5 coffee, better signage, places to gather, to have a coffee, to bring your own coffee. And I think those two are really important for us. And there's so many frameworks and policies out there. But if we just start with those two and say, I see you, you're welcome here, I understand a bit of what you've gone through, where you've come from. And it's the same with the other spectrum. If you're dealing with someone who just wants to drive a 4x4 everywhere, what stops them from getting out and walking 2 blocks? In some South African cities, people won't walk 2 blocks to it.
Right.
And how could you meet them halfway? And the perspective of a parent, we want everyone in our city to use public transport, but would you send your 9-year-old daughter to use that train or bus in South Africa on their own?
Right.
And why not? So it's
Same
a bit of understanding in everything you do, and then you can really start to implement and do small things to make people welcoming. And sometimes I think of if you think of a hotel lobby, some hotels are really friendly and welcoming.
Right.
You can bring your laptop, you can charge your phone, and some are really not welcoming. And shows you how the same sorts of spaces can really make people feel welcome or not welcome. And we need to see that in cities, because it's not just the 5, 10, 20, 50-year plans and visions. It's just the accumulation of every day and the small steps you take to make things welcoming.
It's culture as well.
Yeah.
Like lobby culture is not that common here in the Netherlands.
Yes.
But it is in other countries.
We're still understanding that I suppose, like the US, a very strong lobbying and advocacy culture for everything from meat to oil to every sort of fabric. There's a lobby group. And South Africa, we're learning that we need to almost form these lobby groups over time.
Yeah.
So we've been involved in forming lobby groups for young people, where we're not commercially invested in them doing anything, but organizing them and saying, here are platforms, here are workshops. If you want to lobby as yourself, as a practitioner, here are the opportunities to do that. And demystifying processes where people can take part as well.
And lastly, I mean, what's your personal drive behind this? and that you've started this, and there is a drive or a mission or a purpose that you've formulated for yourself. I mean, what is that you'd like to share?
It's multiple drives, or I suppose many of them. I grew up in a neighborhood. I was about 7, where my city had bid for the Olympics, and the neighborhood right next door would be the Olympic Park. And so I was fascinated since a young age that my city and my neighborhood could be transformed with sports facilities and amenities. And we didn't win that bid, but I think that just started something that if you include people, young people, if you include different sectors in something for the future, you can actually build not sort of blind optimism, but positivity. So that people can see beyond the current circumstances. So I've always been fascinated by the chance to have that influence. So a very selfish reason. And then secondly, I ended up studying something completely different to my field. So I ended up doing actuarial science, which is finance, mathematics, statistics at university, because I was good at maths at school. And it was the one that would make the most money and the toughest program to get into university. So very much ego-driven. And my calling's always been cities and how to improve them, I think, since I was 7 years old. And I left that career working in a big insurance company.
Okay.
And so for the last 14, 15 years, I've just been happy and grateful to work in urbanism and to be involved in projects. And so I'm still 7 years old. And everything we work on, whether it's placemaking or we're working on a big new master plan, everything's exciting for me 90% of the time. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks so much for your time.
Cool.
Have a nice day. Good luck with your talk.
Yeah, thank you.
And thanks guys for your attention, and we'll drop his info below so you can check out his beautiful work. Have a nice day.